Welcome to Game Data. Today's topic is a small revision on a modern classic, the Nintendo Switch OLED model. Specifically, what's new and if it's even worth buying. Now, as a quick history lesson, the original Switch model launched back in 2017 as a continuation on many of the portable gaming principles that failed to take off with the Wii U. Mainly, the idea of a full-fledged gaming console that could live both on and away from the living room TV. Unlike the Wii U, the Switch immediately took off, fortified by an explosion of fanfare from folks eager to fulfill their needs for AAA gaming on the go. Over 4 years and 89 million units sold later, Nintendo says the Switch is at a halfway point of its lifespan, and sales show no sign of slowing. As with all of their handhelds, part of Nintendo's long-term plans to keep their console relevant has been to release a couple revisions to their original design, partly to offer different experiences, but more likely to get current owners to buy new consoles. In 2019, Nintendo launched the first revision with the Switch Lite, which slashed the console's prices by using cheaper materials, making the controllers undetachable, and designing the console to be lighter and handheld only. Overall, the device has been fairly popular, scoring almost 20% of total Switch sales. And I've known more than a few people who've enjoyed tossing them in a bag while traveling. But for their second revision, the Switch OLED, Nintendo decided to go with a slightly different strategy altogether. The new device seeks to be the best possible Switch that money can buy, and undoubtedly succeeds in that goal. That's not to say the original Switch model isn't still great. I was among the folks who pre-ordered the original Switch and have had no qualms about that device as a Nintendo handheld. Other than the less than stellar battery life and massive amounts of Joy-Con drift. Drift hasn't really been addressed with the new model either, by the way, but battery life has improved slightly due to an internal chip revision Nintendo made to all Switches around the time the Lite launched. Regardless, the Switch OLED is mainly a revision in materials. It comes packed with a larger, more vibrant screen and feels better to just reach out and touch. And Nintendo's made it feel even more premium by reducing the size of the bezels while replacing the surrounding plastic with a cool metal frame. Even the plastic used for the back has a new matte texture that's more satisfying for my fingers to rest on while playing games. Just listen to it. I really appreciated those improvements over a recent 7-hour handheld play session of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, in which I drained the battery from 95% to about 10%, by the way. With the original Switch, playing handheld often means accepting that text will be a bit too small and the device may need to be held a bit closer to have a comfortably large image. It's never been a deal breaker, but I found myself wanting to play undocked less often. The extra screen size of the Switch OLED largely removes both those issues. Text is easy to read, and even at a distance feels fairly comfortable to stare at for long periods of time. That small boost to quality is just enough for me to not feel like I'm compromising my experience too much when I want to play undocked. Even in direct sunlight, the increased size and quality proves to be beneficial by helping to make games clearer and more comfortable to play overall. Just don't expect this newer, shinier glass to cut down on glare and reflectivity. Honestly, my only real complaint when playing handheld is that the straight size of the Joy-Cons can still be uncomfortable to grip for an extended period of time. I appreciate their form factor in general due to the general flexibility of their use cases, but would still really like them to angle outward a bit, like an Xbox controller, without me having to buy a separate attachable grip. Luckily, part of that issue can be avoided by propping the Switch up on a table and using the grips included in the box. And can we just take a second to just appreciate the new kickstand? It looks like something ripped directly off the back of a Surface Pro and feels about as good as it could without the Switch having a full metal body. Being able to open the kickstand up to about 160 degrees without an extra accessory is wonderful and feels almost revolutionary compared to the kickstick on the original model. Plus, Nintendo added some tiny rubber feet on the bottom of the Switch, which makes everything feel just a little bit more stable when propped up on a table. The new form factor feels fairly thoughtful overall, and I totally dig it. Unfortunately, there's still no good way to charge the device while propping it up with the kickstand, but given that this problem has a trade-off of allowing the Switch to dock for playing on a larger screen, I can't necessarily complain too much. Oh, and the dock. It also got some slight tweaks. It now has an integrated Ethernet port, plus a side hatch that pops off with a new cutout that's more cable management friendly. Not to mention, it has a curvier look that's more fashionable than its predecessor. It looks great. Just don't expect the Switch OLED to perform differently from the original model when docked. The experience is essentially the same between models. That's to say, all upgrades on this new model are hyper-focused on making it the best possible way to play Switch games in handheld mode. And yeah, that's exactly what it is and what it does. As an overall package, the OLED screen and sleeker body place the Switch OLED pretty far ahead of the other two models, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the best choice for everyone to buy. You know, as much as I completely love this new model, its higher price makes it a lot harder of a sell than the other two models. You see, Nintendo's currently selling each of their models under a good, better, best scheme. Viewed this way, the Lite is the good, entry-level device in the series for folks who are really strapped for cash and know for sure they'll never want to dock their Switch to play on a bigger screen. For an extra $100, they can get a better model with the same handheld performance and an extra docking feature, plus the added benefit of removable controllers. Then, for another $50, they can get the best model, which adds an OLED screen, more premium finish, and a sleeker dock. While some folks might be thinking a max price of $350 is pocket change, just know that there are plenty of folks and families who love video games but could barely afford to spend the $20 for Switch Online, let alone a brand new $200 console. And given the three options at hand, recommending a specific model is really dependent upon personal need, budget, and what features you want to prioritize. If you've made it this far into the video and know for sure that Switch OLED is something that you want, that's fantastic. For everyone else, here's how I'm currently thinking about things. If you don't currently own a Switch, the main question to ask is really, how much money are you comfortable spending? If the answer is only $200, then the Switch Lite is going to be the only option available unless you get a great deal on a used console. However, if you have a larger budget, I'd say the ability to dock the Switch is a core feature of the console that's more than worth the extra $100. Even if you only think you'll be playing handheld, having the option to change your mind in the future is key. Detachable Joy-Cons also make playing games less painful if drift sets in and your packed controllers become useless. From there, it's a matter of preference. Having spent over a week so far with the Switch OLED, I'd say the new screen and materials are well worth the $50 upcharge, if you have the funds. But it's worthwhile to emphasize that it's a purely cosmetic upgrade. The fancier screen won't make your games run better. It'll only make them look a bit nicer when the system's not docked. All of those recommendations are pretty straightforward. If you have nothing now, buy what you can afford, but save some money if you don't care about the fancier screen. It's only in consideration of people who already own a Switch where the question of whether to buy a Switch OLED becomes more nuanced. Buying a Switch OLED as a second or third device is kind of a tough decision, and a tougher recommendation. If you're leaving your first Switch at home and need a new device to take on the go, the cheaper Lite is more than capable. Meanwhile, if you just need a second dock device, the $50 OLED upgrade won't offer much benefit. And that's kind of the awkwardness of the Switch OLED as a second device. It only really makes sense if you want the best possible method to play Switch games both docked and on the go. That's what I was looking for personally when I pre-ordered. I wanted the best possible second device to play Splatoon and the upcoming Pokemon games with my fiance, typically in handheld mode, but I also wanted a second dock for our streaming setup so that I didn't have to keep disconnecting our main dock from the living room TV. If that sounds like you, great. I think you'd be plenty happy with the Switch OLED. But admittedly, I have a pretty niche use case. For most people, I feel like it'd be more economical to buy one of the cheaper consoles and spend the extra $50 or $150 on a new controller, video game, or the Switch Online expansion pack. Nothing about the Switch OLED is a must-buy, although it really wants to be. Considering all of this, I almost wonder why Nintendo chose to launch this new model right now. No doubt it'll do great this holiday with parents buying their kids their first console, or for folks who want the shiniest possible handheld. However, within the Switch's rather large current install base, there doesn't seem to be too many new features that should make many people upgrade their current consoles. Especially with the near constant rumors of a 4K capable Switch in the near future, I feel like many folks paying attention to the rumors will choose to pass up this new model just on the potential alone that something better will be announced in a few months. But there's no way we'll know for sure the impact of those rumors until Nintendo's next financial report. What we can tell for sure is that competition in the handheld space is heating up. Nintendo might actually need that more powerful Switch in the coming years if it plans to stay on top, but that's for a different video. For now, I think the main takeaway point is that the Switch OLED looks fantastic. Everything that's upgraded from the original model is executed wonderfully. If Nintendo had have come out with this model back in 2017, there's a good chance they would have sold even more than their current, already impressive 89 million units. But they didn't, and if you already own one of those previous models, you won't be missing out on much if you don't rush out and buy one. So, what are y'all's thoughts on the new Switch model? Have you already picked one up? Are you planning to pick one up the next opportunity you have? Let me know down in the comments. And like I mentioned before, I have more videos coming up about Nintendo's consoles. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, or about tech and games in general, make sure you're subscribed so that you catch them as soon as they're available. Until next time, catch you later.